All right, go ahead.
Hello, everyone. This is Erica Janelle, and this is another episode of Relationship Talks with Erica Janelle. I have a very familiar face on the podcast, Miss Marina. How are you?
Hi, everyone. Hi, Erica.
And we have a special guest, Mr. Abba. How are you?
Hey, how's it going?
That's my cousin. So I promise we are not going to man bash. That's not what we do here. My
Understood.
podcast is all about basically getting people to believe in relationships again. I think society has changed a lot over the last probably 10 years. A lot of people are no longer wanting to get married, no longer wanting to be in long-term relationships, no longer wanting monogamy. And so this podcast is all about getting to the root cause of why people are changing their minds when it comes to relationships. And so today's topic, I want to talk about the gender roles and how important that is in a relationship, and whether or not that is something that people should adhere to or something that we think is something based on your individual desires and what the dynamic of your relationship is. So I will give my opinion first, and then you guys feel free to chime in. So for me, I feel like a lot of these podcasts that I hear, and I listen to all kinds of podcasts. I educate myself very much so on both the male and female perspectives. I listen to red pill, blue pill, purple pill, however many pills they have content, just to understand their points of view. And for me, I feel like a lot of the reason why a lot of these guys that have a warped mentality about monogamy and relationships and why it doesn't work is because they feel like the reason why things stop working is because women are no longer stay-at-home moms or no longer stepping into what they consider to be the feminine role, which is to be the submissive, which is nothing wrong with submission. And we'll talk about that in a little bit. They feel like women are too independent and they're doing too many things. And this is why the dynamic is thrown off. My personal opinion is I believe that your relationship, your dynamic is individual. It's not based on what society says. It's based on what works for you and your person. And this is why couples don't make it, because they don't have these conversations in the early phases of dating. You should be talking to your partner about what their expectations are, what their needs are, what their desires are, and they should be doing the same with you. And in the early stages, if you know that you're not on the same page, then you know to cut the ties early from the beginning. The problem is people try to make somebody into what they want them to be rather than accepting people for who they are. And that's where I believe most of the problems come in. Feel free to chime in.
Okay, Abba, you want to go first since you're the guest?
Well, I'll add something to the submissive part.
Mm-hmm.
So recently, I think somewhere I read it or I got the idea where both males and females have a ratio of masculinity and femininity.
Absolutely. Mm-hmm.
Okay. And so if, let's just start with the female. If the female is mainly in a masculine environment, she's lacking the masculinity in her life, she's going to take on the masculine role.
Mm-hmm.
She's going to diminish her feminine side.
Mm-hmm.
That's where you have the the manly woman. I have no disrespect to them. I feel the strength that they're able to acquire is enormous, and I respect that. Okay. For men, it's the opposite. They become more feminine with society in general.
Mm-hmm.
So what happens now is you see more dominance from women onto men.
Mm-hmm.
That is not natural.
It's supposed to be. Exactly.
So what needs to happen, well, I've been thinking about this past week. A masculine woman needs to experience a more masculine man to kind of fix her ratio, because his ratio is like, higher masculinity, lower feminine.
Agreed.
And that's a very, sorry, I'll finish my thought right now. That's a very hard thing to do nowadays, but a lot of people are starting to understand that manhood is just destroyed in the last decade or two, or if not more. And we need to rebuild that. We need to understand what a man is supposed to be and do, what his roles are. And once that's accomplished, woman will be a woman the way they're made to be, right? Natural.
I agree 100%. It is so, I don't know when society got this way. I think a lot of it, I can speak from my culture coming from a single parent home with a mother. There's a lot of, unfortunately, Black families where the mothers had to step in and do everything. Yeah. And so when you have to, and me myself, I'm a single mom. When you have to step in and play the masculine and the feminine role, it is often very difficult to, because we're both made of masculine and feminine energy. It's just, you need to know when to tap into your masculine and when to tap into your feminine. When I'm at work, I'm a leader. I'm a vice president. I can't be submissive in that role. I'm the boss. I have people that are looking to me to make decisions. In business, I'm the boss. At home, I don't want to be the boss. But a lot of people don't know that delicate balance between how to balance your masculine and feminine energy. It's nothing wrong with being masculine. It's nothing wrong with being feminine, but know how to balance, like you said. And I feel like in our society, I'm speaking for Black people, and a lot of us, not everybody's dynamic is that way, but for a lot of us, were raised by single moms, and our mothers had to do everything. They worked, they provided, they still nurtured, they still went to PTA meetings, they still made sure you had everything done, and they still made sure your food was cooked and your clothes were clean. And so it's very hard to ask. And then we raise children as single moms, and then our children watch us do everything. So in their minds, they're like, well, that's how a woman's supposed to be. We're supposed to be the boss. We're supposed to be the leader. We're supposed to be the head, but not realizing that that level is dysfunctional. That's not the way God intended it. He didn't intend for any one person to do everything. We balance each other out, both male and female. It's a reason why God created us that way, because we balance each other. But people have, unfortunately, because of whatever the family dynamics are, it's gotten destroyed over the years. So we have to consciously build that back up and recognize when you're stepping too much into your feminine energy as a man, you need to say, wait a minute, I'm a leader. Let me step into my masculine energy. And likewise with a woman, when you're doing too much in your relationship, you shouldn't be, it's okay to submit. Submission means go under the mission of. The problem is a woman can't get under the mission of a man that doesn't know how to be a leader. You can't expect me to submit to a fool. Exactly. So that's the problem. Now, I'm sorry, I'll let Marina talk.
No, I agree with both of you. And what you said in the very beginning, you said that people in the very early stages in their relationships don't really talk. Because I think, because, we're Jewish, so culturally, a lot of the things are already spoken for us. So we kind of like, when I was dating my ex-husband, we kind of were like expecting our roles already. We didn't really talk much, which is a mistake on our part. But I already expected him to be a certain way as he expected for me to be a certain way, because that's culture. Our parents have done it. It's supposed to be like that. A man is masculine. The woman is supposed to be submissive. And that kind of, in my opinion, demolishes your true self. Or if I'm trying to find myself and I didn't know myself in the beginning of my marriage, or actually I found myself after, and that was why, because I didn't understand my role, because my role wasn't appreciated as a woman. It was only expected as a, well, this is your role, period. That's it. So conversation is important. Both people have to be very open and forget about everything else. Don't tell me
what society said.
What society is saying. I know, even right now, let's say I want to get married to a Jewish person, I'm still going to question, what is your family like? Am I supposed to be afraid of your mentality and how you view life? I'm still going to question that, because that's one of the reasons why I wouldn't want to have a relationship again within my community, because I know we need a lot of healing. We need a lot of openness and open-minded, like parents, elderly, so that they could just be like, you know what, have your dynamic, get into your own you and him, or her and him relationship, and figure out what's best for you. Because it's not like we're talking about let's do drugs or let's go and F around and have a threesome. We're talking about how we're going to build our family. So I don't need anybody's opinion on how to build my family, because if it's taking me longer, it's okay, as long as we're working together to get there.
Absolutely. And I feel like that's the issue. Society pressures us to fit in these boxes. And I'm not saying, because I am one of those people, I don't care what type of relationship you have. You can have a polyamorous relationship if that's what works for you. You can be 2 men, 2 women, whatever works for your dynamic. I'm not your judge. I'm not your jury. I can't tell you how to have your relationship, but what I can tell you as a life coach is the way that you are getting into a relationship. Many people fail to have the hard conversations. They're scared to talk about the stuff that needs to be talked about. Because if you talk about it early on, you'll see where you're not compatible with the person pretty early on. And we're not having those deep conversations. We're talking surface, or we're just caught up in the fact that, oh, I like you. Oh, you're sexy. Oh, you're attractive. Oh, I love this about you. I love that about you. And we're not getting to the core of who a person is, which is their heart, which is their soul, which is their spirit. You're talking to a person and only looking at their outer appearance and not looking at their internal. And their internal weighs far more than your external ever will.
Exactly.
And people don't have the hard conversations. So my personal opinion is we've got to do more talking, and we've got to be intentional. So even when it comes down to everything, okay, you want me to cook home cooked meals? How many times a week is your expectation of me to cook a home cooked meal for you? If I'm working a job and running 2 businesses, how many times a week do you want me to cook a home cooked meal for you? That's not to say I won't do it for you, but I need to know what your expectation is. How many times a week do you need to have sex? How many times a day, if it's your thing? What is your desire? Let's talk about it. Can I actually meet that standard? If I know I can't meet that standard, then I may not be the one for you. I don't care how.
We can't talk about it in our culture. I mean, I don't know how it is these days, but I could not ask my husband, how many times do you want to have sex?
You guys have to be behind closed doors and talk about it.
I know. We're like, we're supposed to have all that sex and kids and reproduce, but we can't talk about sex, which is so stupid, because it's not like we're all, I'm sorry, sluts and whatever. Yeah. It's a genuine human nature thing to do.
It's a real question.
Yeah.
It's a real question. So if your expectation is to have sex 7 days, twice a day,
yeah,
and I don't know that, then I'm gonna be shocked.
let me say one thing here. So if you can't have that conversation, then just be ready when your husband wants it.
Yeah, really, to be honest. Because then
if you're submissive, then you'll take it like that, in that direction also.
Yes, exactly. But that's the problem. And it shouldn't be that way. Can you imagine how oppressive that feels? Oh, my husband wants sex now. I could be dog tired or have the flu and got snot coming out of my nose, but he want to have sex, so I gotta do it. That's called a prisoner. That's not called submission.
You should have a healthy sex relationship, period.
But and eventually, of course, you have the conversation.
Yeah, you can't bypass the conversation. And this is where I know I don't understand that culture, because that's not how I was raised. But regardless, that's still allowing people to dictate your dynamic of your relationship. It should be you and him behind closed doors having the conversations. Your family doesn't need to know what you're talking about.
And keep it private.
Having sex.
Right.
Yeah.
They shouldn't know anything about what you guys are doing. It's your own personal dynamic that needs to be set. That standard needs to be set. Is it worth it to you to be quiet and be what everybody expects you to be in your community? Or is it more important to you to make your relationship work and be happy? Because you can stay married for 30 years, but that doesn't mean you like each other. That doesn't mean you're happy. I don't want to be with somebody I'm not happy with. I want to wake up every day and be excited about the person that I'm with. I want to enjoy my husband. I don't want to be miserable and have to look at like, oh my God, I got to look at this joker again. Oh, why is he here? I don't want to live like that. Who's living like that? That's not a way to live. That's called existing. I don't want to exist. I want to live.
To further issues. Well, back to the point we were talking about. If the man is understanding, and if he can, he'll compromise. Because like a lot of men have they're not disciplined, they're principled, to the point where no, it has to go my way or the highway.
Or that's ego. Yeah.
Right, exactly. So everyone has egos, and it's just a matter of the extent everybody has worked on their egos.
Absolutely. Agreed. Yeah, I mean, I
So
agree. But I think you can't, I mean, if you're not in the mental space to even consider somebody else's feelings or what
yeah,
their needs, desires are, then you're not even ready for a relationship. So let's talk about that. Because a relationship is going to be compromised, because you're not going to be the same on everything. You're not going to think the same in every area. There is going to have to be some compromise. But this is where the vital conversations come in. Because if you have these conversations in the very beginning, you're going to realize and recognize early on what things are things you can compromise with and what things are just non-negotiable. And once you figure out what the non-negotiables are, then you're able to navigate through that situation. Because if it's just too much of a difference, like that person's basically a all the way homebody and never likes to go anywhere, and you're an outgoing person that likes to go somewhere every weekend, that's going to be a very unbalanced type of situation. Somebody's going to feel uncomfortable, like extremely, because it's innately who they are. So if I'm innately a introvert and I'm a homebody and I don't like being around people, and I'm marrying an extrovert, while I think there are things that an introvert can learn from an extrovert and an extrovert can learn from an introvert, if you're not in that place, in that mental space of being willing to open up and try something outside of your comfort zone, then you're just not ready for a relationship. And let's just call a spade, in my opinion.
I feel like it's a little bit easier for me and Erica because we've been married and happily divorced, and divorce was not a choice. Like, it wasn't something we came in to get married. Oh, we're going to get a divorce finally. It just happened because it was the right thing to do. But for people who have never been married, there's so many questions, because you're starting a stage that we have been in for a while. So like, for us to be in a relationship now, it's so much easier now because I found myself. People who have never been married, to me personally, good luck, because it's a lot. It's a lot that goes in, because when you're dating, it's different. When you're married, it's a whole different ballgame. And when you have kids, good luck. Because if you're not both on the same page, if you both are not going to be like involved in raising kids, it's going to take a toll on mentally, physically, your whole life, financially, spiritually, and you don't want one person to be more with the other, with kids. And it's very, very hard, because I think marriage is about to help one person, well, both people grow and then raise little people to become someone important. Marriage is not about, but my mother wants this, or the culture wants this, or expect. I personally now could give, and I'm sorry, could give two shits about the culture or the religion. And I have nothing against being a Jew. I have nothing against the family or religion. That's my son tripping. But I don't mind the work that comes with it. I don't mind at all. But it's difficult. It's difficult.
Well, I will say this. Speaking from a Christian perspective, growing up as a Christian woman, still a very much so Christian woman, but I'm just not a religious person. I'm definitely a person that has a relationship with God. Our scripture tells us to leave our mother and our father and cleave to our spouse. Okay. Well, he tells the man that to leave your mother and father and cleave to your wife. That's what it says specifically. It is very important to get, the family needs to be out of your marriage. I don't care what culture you come from. When you start having too many people on the inside of your relationship's going to fail, because they're putting their opinions, their experiences, their belief systems into you and trying to make you think a certain way. And your relationship and your personalities are totally different from theirs. They don't need to have a say in what goes on in your household. Your mama should not be telling you how much you should cook for your husband. Your mom should not be telling you how you should raise your children. Your mom should not be telling you how you should have sex with your husband. That is just not normal.
That's too much. If somebody's doing that, that's too much.
It's too much. And I just feel like, it's a certain, as adults, when we step out, I know your culture is different. So in my culture, when you get older, when you get to be, 18 is considered grown. In my mind, that's not really grown. But you're eventually supposed to step out and be on your own and start to live your own life and experience your life for yourself. It's such an important step, because when you don't do that and you're still up under your parents, it's kind of like you stunt your growth. There are things that you will never understand until you get on your own, that you will never experience while you're under your parents' roof, or you'll never experience while you're under their care and under their advice. You need to get to the place where you have some level of independence, and then you think about, now I want to get married. This is what I want. So it's not them constructing a viewpoint or building a house of what your life should look like. It's you building your own vision for your own life and for your relationship. And that goes with everything. That goes with career, that goes with your relationship, that goes with how you raise your children. In my opinion, nobody should be able to tell you how to live your life. My job as a parent, and my oldest daughter's 23. My job as a mother is to teach her how to be a respectable, honorable member of society, and prayerfully learn and understand her purpose and why God put her on this earth. That is my job. Once I have done that job, she's 23. I've raised you already. I don't have any say about who you date, who you love, all the things. I'm going to give you my advice when I feel like you're going down a wrong path, but I am not going to control your life. I've already done my job. My job was to teach you. Now, what you choose to do with the things that I taught you is really your choice. And we all have to answer to God for our own actions and our own lifestyles. So nobody should be sitting there dictate. It's not a dictatorship. And I feel like that's where parents have to learn how to stop being so dang on controlling and let their children learn to build their own lives and make their own identity. It is, you do your children a big disservice when all you do is dictate to them what kind of career they have to have, who they have to become, what kind of person they have to marry, what kind of house they have to live in.
That's the worst. First of all, as a mom, I want to see that I did a great job with my kids. I will take care of them, but I'm not getting involved.
Yeah,
you know what I mean? I want to see what I have done. And if I'm still raising you, that's a problem, because I'm either probably codependent, because I want my kids to grow up, and I told my kids, first find yourself and then get married. Don't get married and then find yourself, unless your partner is the right one.
Exactly. And that's what a lot of people don't do. We get married looking for a person to fill a void in us, and not realize you have to become whole as an individual first, and then you're ready to share your life with somebody. If you don't even know who you are, how are you going to share your life with somebody else? You don't even know you.